0500 AM, November 28, 2025, Kursk Oblast. The Russian commander of this forward supply depot thinks he is the smartest guy in the room. He just hid 150 lethal Lancet suicide drones behind a $15 million Pantsir air defense shield just 50 miles from the Ukrainian border. But he doesn't know that 5 Ukrainian ghosts have been watching him for 3 days. And he just made the classic mistake. He parked $15 million of flammable hardware inside the world's most perfect kill box. Russia pulled their best surveillance drones out of deep storage and rushed them to the Kursk border to lock down the front. Tactically, it is a flex. In reality, it is a blunder of historic proportions. They took their most valuable assets out of hardened bunkers and lined them up in an open field like bowling pins. Let's look at the math on the ground because it is ugly for Moscow. In the blue corner, we have the Wild Hornet. It is a Ukrainian FPV drone built from racing parts that cost $500. On paper, using a $500 drone to attack a $30 million fortress is like attacking a tank with a water pistol. The Pantsir shoots down FPVs for breakfast, but the Russians forgot one thing: the drones aren't alone. 5 Ukrainian Alpha group operators, ghosts in the forest disguised as locals, are already inside the perimeter. The terrain in Kursk is rough, full of jagged hills and thick forests that block radar waves. The Russians are scanning the sky for aircraft, but they aren't looking for 5 guys in ghillie suits crawling through the mud with a bag full of cheap tricks. The trap is set, and the Russians are already walking into it. 0505 AM. The operation begins in the dirt. 5 miles from the Russian perimeter, the Ukrainian Alpha group team is moving through the dense Kursk forest. These guys aren't marching, they are flowing through the underbrush like water. They are using the landscape itself as a weapon. The hills here rise 300 feet, creating natural radar shadows that the Russian sensors simply cannot see into. It is a physical blind spot, and the Ukrainians are hiding right inside it. Their mission isn't to attack the depot directly, not yet. Their job is to ring the doorbell and run away. They deploy a handful of FPV, cheap, disposable drones modified to blast out a radio signature that mimics a massive incoming airstrike. It is the tactical equivalent of throwing a rock at a hornet's nest to see what comes out. They want the Russians to panic. They want the Russian commander to look at his radar screen, see a ghost army, and make the fatal decision to move his precious Lancets out of the hardened bunkers and onto the open trucks for a rapid evacuation. Meanwhile, 12 miles out, the real pain is airborne. 20 Wild Hornet FPV drones launch from the back of a pickup truck. These things don't fly like airplanes. They fly like motocross bikes with wings. They are screaming along at 200 miles per hour, hugging the ground at 50 feet. They are moving so fast that by the time you hear the buzz, you are already dead. This flight path isn't a guess. It was plotted by an AI trained on NATO satellite imagery, calculating every dip in the terrain to stay below the Russian radar horizon. The Russians are scanning the skies for high-altitude bombers or cruise missiles. They have no idea that 20 angry machines are racing toward them at the height of a telephone pole, navigating the forest corridors like a pack of wolves chasing a scent. 0508 AM, inside the Russian perimeter, the trap snaps shut. The Alpha Group's screamers do their job perfectly. On the radar screens inside the Pantsir S1 command vehicle, the digital sky lights up like a pinball machine. Multiple inbound targets, high velocity, sector north. The Russian base goes from asleep to chaotic in 10 seconds flat. The Pantsir S1 is a terrifying piece of engineering, a $15 million robo-sniper capable of firing 4 57E6 hypersonic missiles per second. Its radar spins frantically, its phased array antenna hunting for the armada that isn't there. It starts slinging missiles into the dawn sky, engaging phantom signals generated by cheap electronics hidden in the bushes miles away. It looks impressive. Fire and smoke everywhere, but right now it is just an angry old man yelling at clouds. This is where the Russian commander makes the million-dollar mistake. Convinced that a massive artillery barrage is seconds away, he orders the immediate evacuation of his high-value assets. Soldiers scramble, engines roar to life, and the dark heart of the drone fleet begins to move. They pull the crates of Orlan-10s and Lancets out of the concrete bunkers and load them onto soft-skinned canvas trucks. It is a logistical nightmare. Dust kicks up everywhere, blinding the optical sensors. The noise of 50 diesel engines drowns out the subtle buzz of the approaching Wild Hornets. Through the grainy camera feed of the lead Ukrainian FPV drone, the pilot in the forest watches the chaos unfold. He isn't looking at a fortress anymore. He is looking at a frantic anthill. The Russians think they are running to safety, but they are actually serving themselves up on a silver platter. They are running a marathon in high heels, and they don't know the finish line is a cliff. Let's freeze the frame for a second to understand why a $15 million defense system is losing to a bunch of toys. It comes down to a brutal lesson in electronic warfare physics. The Russian Pantsir S-1 is designed to fight a conventional war, to track jets and cruise missiles flying high and fast. But the Ukrainian Alpha team is exploiting the jagged Kursk terrain like a master key. The dense forests and 300-foot rolling hills block about 30% of the radar waves naturally. For the other 70%, the infantry on the ground are using portable Bukovel AD jammers, blasting noise across the 100 to 18,000 MHz spectrum. They are literally putting a digital bag over the Pantsir's head. Then there is the swarm itself. A Wild Hornet drone has a wingspan of just 2 feet. Flying at 50 feet off the deck, it hides below the curvature of the earth and the tree line. To the Russian radar, these 20 drones don't look like a military strike. They look like a flock of birds, or worse, they look like nothing at all. The Pantsir is programmed to prioritize high-threat targets. By the time its logic board realizes that the birds are flying at 200 miles per hour in attack formation, the swarm is already inside the minimum engagement distance. It is a saturation attack. The system is being asked to drink from a fire hose, and it is choking. But the real genius here, the move that makes this checkmate, is how they solve the moving target problem. The Russian convoy is now rolling down a dirt road at a sluggish 40 miles per hour. Hitting a moving truck while flying a drone through a forest on a grainy video feed is incredibly difficult. So, the ghosts in the bushes stop being passive observers. They pull out handheld laser designators. They aren't shooting bullets, they are painting the lead trucks with a beam of invisible light. This transforms the battle entirely. The Russians are trying to play a complex game of chess, moving their heavy pieces to safety, but the Ukrainians just flipped the board and started playing laser tag. The massive, expensive Russian UAVs inside those trucks are designed for long-range dominance, but packed in crates, they are defenseless. It is like the Russians are trying to run a marathon while wearing high heels, and the Ukrainians are waiting at the finish line with a baseball bat. The trap is technical, it is tactical, and it is absolute. 05:12 a.m. The battle gets messy. As the Russian convoy churns up the dirt road, 50 diesel engines kick up a massive cloud of dust, blinding the visual sensors of the incoming drones. To make matters worse, the Kursk wind picks up, gusting at 15 miles per hour. These Wild Hornets only weigh a few pounds. The wind swathes them like flies in a hurricane. 2 drones drift off course and slam into pine trees. Then, the Empire strikes back. The Russian electronic warfare officers finally wake up and slam the panic button. They activate a Krasuka 4 system, a high-powered jammer capable of blinding GPS signals for 150 miles. Instantly, 3 more Ukrainian drones lose their connection and drop out of the sky like stones. Inside the Russian command truck, the officers cheer. They think they just put up an invisible force field. They think they are invincible. But they are about to learn a very expensive lesson in low-tech engineering. The Ukrainians anticipated the jamming. The next wave of drones isn't using radio waves at all. They are trailing 6 miles of micro-thin fiber-optic cable. It is literally a fishing line of death. The Krasuka 4 is blasting enough electromagnetic noise to fry a satellite, but it can't jam a beam of light traveling inside a glass tube. The Russian commander shouts, "Why are they still coming?" The dramatic irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. He thinks he is fighting Star Wars, but Ukraine is beating him with a spool of string. Simultaneously, the Alpha Group ghosts in the bushes stop playing with laser pointers and start playing with high explosives. The lead operator shoulders an RPG-7V. He isn't aiming for the drones, he is aiming for the lead truck's engine block. Whoosh! Crack! The 2.2-pound warhead slams home, grinding the entire convoy to a halt. It is a traffic jam in a kill zone. Desperate, the Russians call in a mobile Pantsir unit from the rear guard. Its cannons roar, shredding the air. The Ukrainian response is cold-blooded mathematics. Saturation. They send 15 drones into the meat grinder all at once. They know 10 will die. They only need 5 to get through. It is like a bar fight where you let the bouncer break his hand on your face just so you can kick him in the knee. The Russians are screaming, the radar is flashing red, and the realization finally hits them. The party is over and they just got handed a bill they cannot pay. 5:14 a.m. Through the crystal clear fiber optic feed, the smoke clears and the mother lode finally appears on the pilot's screen. It is an open-air parking lot packed with 120 Russian drones stacked crate on crate like firewood. We are talking about the sheer arrogance of a superpower that thinks it can't be touched. They didn't disperse their assets, they bunched them up. 2 miles away, the Ukrainian infantry commander looks through his binoculars and grins. He isn't looking at a military base anymore. He is looking at a bonfire waiting for a match. The Russian defense dissolves into total panic. It is spray and pray on a grand scale. Every soldier with a rifle is firing blindly into the sky. The Pantsir S1 is launching missiles at treetops, its logic board fried by the jamming and the chaos. One hypersonic missile detonates just 50 yards from a Wild Hornet, the shockwave nearly flipping the drone, but the pilot fights the turbulence. He is locked in. Then the Alpha group ghosts in the tree line make their final surgical contribution. A sniper, lying prone in the mud 800 yards out, lines up his scope on the Pantsir's spinning radar dish. He exhales. Crack. The high-caliber round smashes into the delicate phased array antenna. The eye of the Russian defense instantly goes blind. The Pantsir's turret stops spinning and droops like a dead flower. 30 seconds. The Russians are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, literally running into each other in the dust. 20 seconds. The remaining UAV trucks try to scatter, driving over their own equipment in a desperate attempt to escape. It is a total breakdown of discipline. The Russian officer is screaming into his radio, demanding air support that isn't coming. Where are these ghosts coming from? He doesn't realize the ghosts aren't the problem. The problem is the swarm of angry plastic hornets screaming toward his face at 200 miles per hour. The arrogance is gone. The bragging about 1,000 unstoppable Russian drones is over. In exactly 10 seconds, the Russian army is going to be the proud owner of 1,000 piles of expensive scrap metal. The inventory is about to be liquidated. 10 final Wild Hornet drones dive out of the smoke like Valkyries. The pilots in the bunker are sweating, their knuckles white on the joysticks, adrenaline spiking their heart rates to 140 beats per minute. They push the throttle to the max. The first drone slams into the lead truck carrying the Lancet warheads. But this isn't just an explosion, it is a chain reaction of beautiful physics. The 1.1-pound shaped charge punches through the thin metal of the truck bed and detonates the 30,000 pounds of munitions stacked inside. The shockwave hits 5,000 psi instantly. It doesn't just destroy the truck, it atomizes it. A fireball erupts, expanding 300 feet outward, swallowing the Orlan-10s parked next to it. Then the next drone hits, and the next. It sounds like a string of firecrackers if those firecrackers were made of TNT and regret. The Russians aren't fighting a battle anymore, they are running from a volcano. Let's slow down the tape and appreciate the carnage. This wasn't chaotic, it was surgical. The drones targeted the fuel reservoirs of the parked UAVs. The secondary explosions are creating a thermal column rising 1,000 feet into the dawn sky. Satellite imagery from Maxar confirms the damage. The depot is gone. It's a crater. 50 Russian drones worth $100,000 a pop have just been converted into free fertilizer for the Kursk forest. The Pantsir S1 is a smoking wreck. Total estimated loss, $15 million in hardware evaporated in under 3 minutes. As the black smoke settles over the tree line, the reality sets in. Russian soldiers are fleeing on foot through the woods, leaving their boots in the mud. Strategically, this is a gut punch. Putin just lost 40% of his border reconnaissance capability in a single morning. He has to scramble to pull units from other fronts to plug the gap. While Donald Trump is pushing for a peace deal, Ukraine just sent a loud message. You want to negotiate? Pay the price of admission first. Kyiv didn't just break a depot, they broke the narrative of Russian invincibility. And just like that, the Kursk trap snaps shut. The Russians are waking up to a nightmare and the Ukrainians are tallying up the score. If you want to see more masterclasses in drone warfare, smash that like button.